take it, I don't take it as gospel. Well, I want to do this, I'm not going to consent. I'll take my kids because I don't believe that I've done anything wrong. Like I said, see, now that's the thing, there's loads of them speaking out, and as time goes on, these people keep speaking out, YouTube trying to censor them because they're telling the truth. I think the balance is shifted, to be honest with you.
I'm here in sunny Barry in Wales to speak to Anthony Claypole on another case I'm investigating for Fight the Fines UK. This is yet another case of corrupt fines being issued totally unfairly to people simply trying to go about their ordinary lives. Anthony Claypole earlier on this year was playing football in the park with a friend and with his kids. Now this sort of exercise was totally mandated by the government, totally allowed, and yet the police still hounded him and harassed him and hit him with a £60 fine, which has since gone up, for no good reason, to almost £1,000. This is what Anthony Claypole had to say about his case. So I'm here with Anthony Claypole, who earlier on in the year got fined in this very field, which is by no means a small field. There's probably no better place in Wales to be socially distanced. What exactly did you get fined for?
Well, apparently I'd broken the coronavirus laws, and they accused us of having a picnic. I was in a field with apparently more than 2 people.
So in this massive field with more than 2 people, and that's apparently a huge threat to sort of public health, as it were. But they fined you for having a picnic.
Well, they said we were having a picnic. We actually wasn't.
Right, so you didn't have any food.
No.
But you were sitting down on a blanket.
No, my partner was on a blanket because our youngest son Archie is autistic and he wouldn't venture far from her, so she set the blanket down, and myself and my friend were lashing a football back and forth. And we were at least probably 50 feet apart at the time doing this.
Right.
And as I say, meanwhile the kids are riding around on their bikes. My partner was on a blanket with Archie, and my friend Darren's wife was on a blanket probably about 3 meters apart, because the girls had that in mind. Because their youngest is a baby and he couldn't even crawl at the time, so he was having tummy time.
Right.
And yeah, that's basically what happened. They came from that direction over there and walked straight towards us, made a beeline for us.
What exactly did they say to you?
They came over to break up the party and told us that we were breaking the coronavirus laws and that we had to move on.
Right, and then they threatened you apparently, didn't they?
Well, she wanted my details. The guy was actually quite approachable, but the female PCSO was, she had an attitude from the get-go.
And then they told you that they were going to arrest you in front of your children.
They did, yeah.
So they're sort of intimidating you and threatening you.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe they said verbatim, you don't want your children to see that.
Yeah, they tried to use my children against me as if I was creating the situation, when in fact they were the ones that were causing alarm distress, I would argue, to not only myself but my young kids as well.
So they came from that direction, and then you moved over into that direction where the other police turned up and
they confronted us around sort of this area, and I said to my partner, oh, come on, we'll just go home, I got work in 2 hours. And we packed up and we went across that direction, and these 2 PCSOs, they followed us at close proximity. All the while my two of my kids were turning around, but Daddy, they're following us, but Dad, they're following us. It's like, relax, it's okay, just ignore them, they're not there. And when we exited the field onto a street down there, a riot van came bombing around the corner, mounted the pavement in front of us, and out jumped 2 proper coppers, if you like.
So you were actually going home?
We were leaving the field, yeah.
I'm not going to consent. I'll take my kids because I don't believe that I've done anything wrong. Like I said,
so you were basically complying.
They wouldn't leave us alone.
They were the ones following you.
They were, yeah.
And almost like a pincer movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look, I mean.
Well, she phoned for the backup here,
right.
And then obviously when we were out in that direction, she's obviously on the radio saying we're coming out on the pastures.
As though they're chasing someone who's just committed some kind of burglary or something. You know. Yeah. It seems like an overreaction, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
But obviously for you, you've got 5 children. You've got 4 at home.
Yeah.
2 of them are sort of vulnerable. One's got autism. One's got Asperger's.
Yeah.
You can't have them cooped up in a house all day.
No, it's not good for them.
Not good for them. No, it's not good for their health.
It's not good for children in general, in my opinion. Children are not supposed to be cooped up in a house. And considering this field is on my doorstep, it's less than 10 minutes walk from my house. I felt like this was probably the best location to come if they could ride around on their bikes, and you know, they were happy, they were laughing, they were having fun like kids should be. And that mood changed when the PCSOs come from that direction, and there were other people in the field, but they made a beeline for us. and that's when the mood changed.
Why do you think that was, that they went for you?
Well, I don't know, maybe they just walked through the snicket by chance and saw us, or whether I was targeted because of my post on Facebook, I don't know.
Right, so you've been quite vocal about this stuff in the past, and you think it's possible.
I have been, yeah.
Maybe there are people out there who are, they've got a grudge, as it were.
Well, I think that they don't generally like people who speak out, especially against the state and things like that. But for sure, they made a beeline straight for us. There were other people in the field, but they came for us. And
since then, you've received a lot of correspondence, obviously from ACRO and all sorts of other organisations. They sent you notices and fines.
Yeah.
And what was the fine originally?
Originally it was a what they call a fixed penalty notice, and it was from a company called ACRO.
Right.
I was told to ignore that, so I was told to not pay that because I hadn't done anything wrong.
It says here the charge is that you contravene the requirement to not participate in a gathering in public of more than 2 people.
Quite a charge, huh?
So basically the charge is not being alone.
Yeah.
And the amount of this was £60?
At the time, yeah, initially it was £60.
Right. It's since gone up to 816 plus charges, plus fees,
yeah,
plus all the rest. And then you got the other one, I think, from...
And then I received this, which is what they call a single justice procedure from the South Wales Police.
Yeah.
Again, this on the second page goes into the charge, as it were.
Well, this one, the charge has changed to participating in public gathering.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot more like you're at a protest or a party, not in a group of a few people.
Small protest.
Yeah,
a lot of young members.
Yeah, a lot of young kids protesting against not being able to cycle around a field.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's phrased in a lot more of a serious kind of term.
Yeah, slightly more threatening. It seemed that they upped the ante with that one, and they gave me the chance though to enter my plea, attend court or plead guilty, which I was never going to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm not guilty of anything. So again, I was advised not to create joinder with them, not to accept that, because as soon as I sent that off, I was creating a contract with them and accepting the fine, accepting the charge.
I can see here there's a section called Your Plea.
Yes.
You've pled not guilty.
Indeed.
Seems a bit serious, doesn't it, that you have to have a guilty or not guilty plea for
being in the field with your children.
Something like this, Yeah. And was it at this point that the fine went up on this
No,
form,
I ignored that on the basis that I was not to create contract with them and accept the fine and the charge.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you knew, just a couple of weeks ago, I woke up to a message from a friend saying that I was apparently famous on the Barry District website,
right,
where they had posted a big header saying that Barry man charged with breaching coronavirus laws or regulations, whatever it was, and then they had my full blurb, my name, my address, right, charged with the price.
It's very much like a criminal at large,
yeah,
kind of thing,
on the website of the Barry District News.
So that's like publicly humiliating them. I mean, it's a small community, isn't it? Around here?
Kind of. It's not that big a town.
Right.
But at that point, I still hadn't had any correspondence from the courts. They hadn't informed me I'd been fined. It seems that the Barry District got hold of this information and they were allowed to just post that on the website to scare people, I guess.
So you've put here under your information for the court, I'm pleading not guilty because I had not broken any laws. I was acting lawfully, committing no loss, harm or injury to anybody.
Yep.
If I'm good enough to travel the country in my job, then I'm good enough to take my children to a field to ride their bikes.
Yeah.
Also, the police statement contains zero context and is not a factual document. According to what happened, I have video footage.
Yes.
So it sounds like you're fighting this. You're not giving up.
No, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to pay it.
The initial fine was what, £60?
Initially it was £60, yeah.
What has it gone up to?
£816 plus cost plus surcharge.
So with all the costs, you're looking at about £1,000.
Near enough, I'd say, yeah, because they didn't tell me when I contacted Cardiff magistrates to confirm that this actually was the case. I asked who's the victim surcharge for, because in my opinion I'm the victim. But they reckon they add that to every case. Every time someone's charged with something, they add a surcharge. And
so it's not a surcharge then? If it's added every time, it's...
Well, that's what they call it, surcharge, yeah.
So they're just bolting things on, sort of arbitrarily. Yeah. At the time, though, wasn't the maximum fine that they could offer you, what, £100, £120?
I believe so, yeah, because if you bear in mind this happened in May, so we were in lockdown 1, and at that time, to my knowledge anyway, we were in like what they call a tiered fine system, fine structure, where if you were caught for the first offence, use that term loosely, it was sort of £60 or £100, and every time you got caught after that, if you convicted. So
I mean, using the term offence very loosely, when you're talking about kicking a football around in a field and
exactly.
letting your children cycle around and exercise and get out of the house. I mean, that's not exactly a hardened criminal.
Not really, no.
No. But no, I mean, so they've since brought in this higher fine
just
system,
recently,
and they're kind of retroactively imposing that upon what you did back in May, and then all of the fees and all the rest of it that go into that. You're looking at almost £1,000.
Nearly, yeah, pretty much.
Which isn't a small sum. That's quite a worrying amount, especially when you've got young children and all the rest of it, and so close to Christmas. That's the kind of thing that could ruin Christmas for a family.
I can't afford it, to be quite honest with you, because I'm the only one that works in my household, because our children are young still, so my partner can't go to work yet. And obviously, as you say, just before Christmas, to be lumped with this is it would be impossible for me.
And it's one of those situations that's kind of catch-22. You pay the fine, can't afford that, but also you've got to fight the fine, can't afford that either.
Yeah.
So what do? You're stuck in a position where they are expecting you to shell out money that you don't have before Christmas, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this. We're fighting the fines, and we're providing you with a legal team who will fight it on your behalf.
I appreciate that.
And Rebel News, of course, are funding that through the donations of our supporters. And if you at home sympathise with Anthony's case or other cases like it, you can go to fightthefines.co.uk and you can chip in and donate there. Or if you also have a similar case like this and you want our help, you can submit a report at the same URL. You've just heard Anthony Claypole's case, father being fined up to £1,000 for playing football with his children in the park. This is an absolute disgrace, but the good news is you can help. You can chip in, donate at fightthefines.co.uk, and we will fight Anthony's fine on your behalf. Also, if you have a fine of your own, you can submit a report at the same URL, and we will help you too.